So this video is going to look really fucking rushed. I had to go pick some shit up from a job site, like my ladders and fucking leads and all that type of stuff. I usually leave them there. And I set the alarm off on the way into this fucking site and I didn't really think much of it. So I got there, fucking started making me video and all that type of stuff. I usually, like, it takes me like 3 or 4 runs through a video to actually get one that I like, because like there's a bit to go over and I try and like organize all my thoughts into something that actually makes sense. So it takes me like 3 or 4 goes to get it. On this occasion, I only got the one chance because the cops may or may not have been called. So the builder showed up and he's like, "What are you doing, mate?" And I was like, "I'm just picking up my shit, and then while I'm here I'm going to make a video." I was like, "I'm not actually working, so this should be okay." He's like, "Yeah, fine, well, whatever." But the cops are on their way, so I only got one take of the video and I decided to get the fuck out of there because I wasn't waiting for the cops to show up. Anyway, I'll put it together as best I can, but if it's a bit choppy, that's why. But it's also a kind of good story, so I don't know, maybe it's a win-win.
Alright, this one, day number 6 of 10. We're getting there. It is getting harder, that was kind of anticipated. I've came to make this job site safe. We're in the middle of lockdown, so I can't actually do any work. But I did have some ladders and shit to pick up, so I thought while I'm here, surely there's no harm in making a YouTube video. This one I'll do pretty much on marking plates. I won't go fully into the detail of like how to pull the measurements off the plan, but it will be like how to lay out a wall on 450 centers, how I mark my standard studs, my 45s, and then my point loads. And then a little bit on just like how centers work. And then if you were marking out a window, how that works for me as well. So I do things the same way each time with these, because then if I leave the site, the boys know exactly what stud goes where, and we just end up with less fuck ups. So we kind of figured out this system early on, and now we just run with it. So starting up here, this is going to be your junction, so you'd mark 90mm there. Sorry, that's your end stud. If you're doing brickwork, you don't need that. First thing you'll notice is I've done 2 lines. A line like that to us means that we are just putting a common stud there. It's not a 45, it's not a point load, just a common stud. Most of the time from there, I'll put a nail in. And then I'll hook onto that and I'm marking 450s. So 450 is the common measurement for how far apart your stud spacings are. Sometimes your internals will be 600, your shower and wet areas will be 300, but 450 is your most common and your safest bet. So it'll always hook on and run 450s. Always do it so you go 450, 900, 1350. Obviously on 1800, 2250, 27. The reason you hook onto the one point and do it that way instead of, if you just went like this every time, 450, mark that, 450, mark that, you'll find your measurements grow. Over 3 studs, it's not a big deal. Over 10, you'll find that you grow quite a lot, and your noggins won't work. Worst case scenario is that your stud spacings are too wide and you've got to start pulling shit apart if it gets picked. So then I come back through, square them up, mark them. If it's a point load, so say this one, so say this one is for a 40 double 45, so it's picking up a I don't know, beam, something like that. I'll mark each side of it and we'll do an X. So an X will tell the boys that they've got to put a double 45 there. If it's got to be an LVL, then we'll use a circle. So a lot of times, if I have to mark a window, my windows will generally look like this. So say that's the start of your window. I'll mark that it's a window. If it's double alveolar stud under, and then just a normal closing stud, then that's how my window will be marked out. And then on top of that, it's not uncommon for me to mark that. And then that'll tell the boys that it's a double stud under and a single next to it, just as a closing stud. So 450 centers work like this. So instead of, if you did, let me think about this. So when you're marking these, you'll find you have two measurements. You'll have hook on, and butt in and back. So they'll do the same thing. So if I mark 45 there, that's the side of my stud, and then I mark 95 here. So that's each side of my stud marked. See if there was, so hook on and on gives you 450, sorry. Butt in and back gives you 450, and then obviously to the center is 450 as well. So if ever someone says 450 centers, 600 centers, you never normally actually just mark the center point. You're always just marking the side and working it from that. It's just a convenient way of doing it, because then you're not affected by the width. Your spacing isn't affected if your timber's a 35 or a 45. That's probably about it. I'm not going to do a ton with this one. I'll wait until I'm actually building a house, and then I'll properly bring you along for it. But yeah, hopefully you get something out of that. The main takeaway would be doing these junction blocks. So these junctions work so that the other stud can go up there. So that stud there is just for you to shoot this stud into. So you'll whack nails through there. And then that stud there is just to pick up your plaster when that wall junction gets done. And then you'll have that plate run out that way. If you've got a wall junction in the middle of a wall, like that, you'll mark each side, and then your studs will go out there like that. And then in here you'll just put blocks. So your wall blocks, and this will make a lot more sense when I do a proper wall framing video. Your wall blocks can't be more than 900 apart. That's what the code specs that you've got to be nailed off at. Other than that, that's a quick basics of marking out walls.